Hello everybody and welcome back to Boss Bites. I'm the Bkbossman and we are about to put our Lunar Rover into orbit. At the end of the last video I did say that there was a missing component to the rover, and that's this surface scanning module here. And the reason why we want that is because it's going to monitor the surfaces that we're going through. This one here will actually tell us if you're transitioning between biomes, so it makes it a lot easier for you to track where you're getting your science from. So we've got a simple three-stage motor. It starts with the kickbacks here on the outside, followed by the mainsail at the bottom, and this large fuel tank to get us into orbit and transition us mostly to the moon, and then followed finally by the poodle here, which is going to descend us into one of the craters, hopefully. So we're all ready to go with this one. And what we're going to do is we're going to take it straight out and have it ready to go. Just realised the crew, it does only give me the 2 crew, but I do want to put a scientist in here as well. So obviously we want to maximise our science when we do get up there. Okay, time for liftoff. Bill and Fred Cass. We're just going to try and get ourselves into a relatively low orbit, something around about the 80,000 metre mark. You'll notice that I'm going to start transitioning quite quickly. That's because the kickbacks will actually put us into a really high orbit if we're not careful. Nice and steady, but not too quick. I've actually reduced the power on the kickbacks from a maximum to 75%. And that's actually going to help us get a nice smooth orbit. The last thing we want to do is to get up there too quickly, because we end up fighting against the resistance as we do. Trying not to fight the vehicle too much as we're ascending. By the time we've used up our kickbacks, we're going to want to be aiming to be just slightly under the 45-degree mark. I will admit this is not going to be the most economic motor that you've ever driven. Preparing for jettison and hoping that we are not going to hit anything on the way off. It should just hold us just there. There we go. Still slowly transitioning up. Don't want to put too much throttle on board, but we are just going to have a quick look at the map and see where we're aiming at. That is a good looking transition. Just going to lock that down there, reduce the throttle a little bit. We don't want to be going too fast too quickly. You see here we are actually doing that at the moment. We want to keep the apoapsis closer to about 40 seconds. The higher we get, the closer we want that apoapsis to be. A lot of manual corrections at the moment just to keep everything in check. Our priority obviously trying to get that periaps up rather than getting this apoapsis side up. So just allow the apoapsis to drop itself down. We don't want it to be too high, otherwise we're just wasting fuel. Now we're hitting around the 24-25 mark. We want to try and stabilise that a bit. Bringing up the throttle, you see the periaps starting to grow. Just want to maintain that height. Appear to be wasting just a tiny bit of fuel there. I think we can afford it. Get into prograde. Make that periaps to show. A little earlier than we wanted. Let's get that 70k in and I'll be happy. Okay, let's see where we're at in terms of transition. I'm just going to rotate the wheel about and just see where we're going to land. There we go. Let's just back that off a little bit and just see what we can get that down to. 35-second burn there. We'll loop around and then we'll bring this back around. Please don't take too much of what I'm saying as instructions on how to do your orbits. The focus of this video that I'm doing is actually to transition and bring the Lunar Rover onto the moon. The plan being that that's the job that we're going to do, and that's actually what this video is more about rather than the transition between the two. But I do want to prove to you it is possible to get it out there. So we've burnt on 35 seconds. As you can see, that little white mark there is noting to tell us that we're going to run out of fuel before we get there. So we want to use the stage that we're on, and then we're going to use a little bit of the poodle stage as well to get past it. And the total burn of 35 seconds means we need to start burning at about 17.5, 18 seconds. And that will obviously be on a prograde vector. Bringing it forward to get us onto that 17 seconds that we're waiting. Two, one, maximum throttle there. Here we are at this point going to need to transition between engines. It's not the ideal situation, but it is something we're going to have to do. Want to use too much fuel up on it, because what we need is to make sure we have as much of this one as possible for when we get to the other side, when we get to the moon. Okay, to the moon we go. Now, so there's our periaps for the moon. This is going to be our burn point here. And what we want to do is just reverse burn that around to make sure that we get ourselves in. And we may as well bring this right down to where we're going to land from. I usually try to land this from about 20,000. Wait for us to catch up to it. 24-second burn. You can go into retrograde or maneuver mode when you arrive. Either will be just as good. So the half of the 24, that's going to leave us with a 12-second start point. Just have that lock itself in. Monitoring that fuel level. Last thing we want to do is run out before we land. It appears that I missed the burn. Either way, it will be fine because we're at a good position to do it. So bring that down to 20. 13 will do. As I said, we're not doing exact rocket science here. The vehicle should have plenty of fuel to finish what we need it to do. Now looking around the moon, so we're going to start looking for a suitable landing site. The one that I actually want is anything near this area here. And the reason for that is because we're going to take our Lunar Rover across a few of these different sections here, and we will land it. The closer we land it to it, the better it's going to be. Also, nobody wants to try and land in the dark. It's the worst way possible. So let's get this other transition in. Just reduce the throttle down. Sorry, just reducing the Apple wraps until we hit 20,000 there as well. Get that back up so we can see what I'm doing. Okay, so we are aiming to land around here. We've got more than half a tank of fuel, which should be more than suitable. What we want to do is just start bringing that down now. We are already further forward than I think we would want to be to start this landing. As that taps itself away, and then we'll just bring ourselves up to here to start our final approach. Just a quick save there because I promise you this is one of the more difficult landings. At this point we can jettison our shielding. Turn it around so that it's the correct way up. I want to try and land on our wheels if possible. See how much space I've given myself to land there. Ideally we want to try and land on the surface side here of one of the craters. If not, we can probably turn it around as we do it. There goes some of our shielding. It's putting this landing about here, I believe, at the moment. So wherever we can get this to sit itself down nice and slowly. Just pop your brakes on and your lights, gives you the opportunity to look to see clearly where you're going. And the wheels being stopped when you land is always going to be a lot easier. Start reducing that vertical velocity now. Try and turn the vehicle just enough to bring us so that we are more facing the inclination of the surface here. Okay, X that and gently lower her down to the surface. Brakes on, lights on, and then ejecting the final part, the final stage of it. We have arrived. Jeb, Bill and Fredka safe and sound. Now take this for a nice little drive. Explore the lunar surface, which we will do. Let's just take it up a little bit on this hill, just to finish off here. I will be honest, that's possibly the 7th or 8th attempt at that landing I've had, and easily the best. Very, very pleased. And here we have our opportunities now to explore the moon. Okay, that's it for today. What we're going to do is we're going to take our next mission and we're going to start to explore the moon, and we'll have a look around some of the items on the lunar surface using all of the gadgetry that we got on the top, and generally just have a bit of fun with it. And be able to explain at this point, you've probably been wondering what the little thrusters are on the bottom for, but we will explain all that when we get through to the next part. Thank you very much for watching. This has been Boss Bites, and I'm the Bkbossman, and I've very much enjoyed your company while I've been landing this here.